need comfort.
I will have it.
I will have it. It will be mine. I will not settle for anything less.
That's right.
I'm Brother Dan.
I'm Sister Lisa.
And we are back for another episode of our little podcast show.
We'll have you know we're number 6, though.
On a list that we found somewhere on the internet.
I don't know who did it, but...
And it's very important. And thank you.
Thank you. We are number 6. Just number 6, arbitrarily.
Yeah.
Number 6.
And it's called Siblings in Zion.
Check it out wherever you get your podcasts.
How long has it been since we did this? 2 or 3 months?
Yeah, maybe.
I haven't even seen you in a month. I haven't seen you all year.
All year.
I'm not cool about it.
I'm very upset.
So
yeah.
How you doing?
Well.
About that?
Well. Overall, I'd say fine. I just feel right now that I'm very stressed out.
Uh-huh.
Just kind of my baseline stress is a little bit higher. This term in school has been particularly frustrating for me.
So we haven't really talked about this, and I asked if you wanted to share what you're doing and how it relates to where you've come from and how it might be either helping or challenging you in what you're doing. But you are in grad school now, and you are training to become a marriage and family counselor.
Mm-hmm.
That's the program.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm paying lots and lots of money to get a degree.
Great.
Yeah.
This is America. That's what you're supposed to do.
This is America. So debt.
Mm-hmm.
And I am in my 6th term.
Are you really already?
Yeah, and I have 5 more.
Oof. Oof.
Yeah. I think anyone in higher education understands that it's a racket.
Yeah.
I guess I just went in with higher expectations than I maybe should have.
For what you got for it?
Yeah, what I'm getting for it. And just anything beyond, this is an institution that wants your money.
Your sense of what you're getting for what you're paying for in money and time, I assume.
Yeah, totally. And
are you feeling like you're not getting tools that you don't feel you already had, or?
In some ways, yes. And just the concept that there's another thing I have to show up on time for is already a lot. I don't have the luxury of paying for school and not having to work.
Yeah. Change
your whole schedule so that you can be here until the evening when a lot of people are going to sleep normally.
Yeah, that is pretty late.
Yeah. Just the idea that they say jump, we say how high. I didn't understand how demeaning grad school would be in that way, where you're just like at their whim.
I'm not quite following.
Yeah,
because obviously you've been in school for a long time and you know that there's a schedule.
Yeah.
But what do you mean at their whim?
I mean, yes, it's just the structure of being in school as an adult when you have classes. When I was a student before, I didn't work.
Right.
I was a tutor on campus. And I also don't even have kids. So I know that more people are juggling more. But just, I have to show up for a practicum. And that is from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. So it's already all day, which is not an evening.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a day we don't work or make money.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I signed up for that, I thought it was 9 to 3. But then we have extra assignments outside of that and outside supervision that takes place on a different day of the week on a different morning. There's just a lot more to it than I realized there would be.
It's not high school. It's not like you have all the free time after.
Right.
And it's Monday through Friday until then.
Yeah.
It is more fragmented and difficult to work around.
And it doesn't always feel worth showing up for. So it's okay, I have to get my ass downtown.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, this is fun. I love this. I love my peers, but recently we're all realizing how it's just kind of shitty in a lot of ways that we didn't expect.
Mm-hmm.
I realize I'm privileged to be able to go to school and have government funds to borrow, even though it means I'm in debt, but I can still do the thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I get that. But I am noticing that a lot is coming up for me as far as like being in a system and having that system tell me you need to do things a certain way and you need to give us your money and you need to like meet these milestones and check these boxes or we're not going to give you what you're expecting. So it feels less about who I am as a person and more about can you just jump through the hoops and give us what we're looking for, which obviously sounds familiar.
Yeah. And at the same time, if there was no system at all, then we wouldn't have therapists.
Yeah.
You have to show that you can do the type of work, the type of rigorous inspection. And yeah, I mean, standardized tests and stuff are problematic to some degree, especially in the lower, into, the K through 12.
Yeah.
And that's been debated for a long time. But you can't just be a lawyer unless you go through that critical education and pass the test that everyone needs to pass to say, look, I did the work. I know this. I should know what I'm doing. And you should trust me. Now you pay me.
Now you pay.
Now you pay me the money.
Yeah. Yeah. You're right.
I mean, Lisa, you could be a life coach.
You could have just been a life coach. Did you ever think about that? I'm wrestling with how much this experience, like I told you before, I'm just shocked by how much practicum reminds me of the MTC. Like I can't not relate them to each other.
Sure.
I'm doing role plays, like simulations. You do that a lot on the mission. Pretending to, teach lessons and stuff to people who are not, they're like another missionary.
Yeah.
Like another counselor in training. And we're doing a simulation where like I'm practicing therapizing them. And there's someone constantly watching you. Like you are always being supervised. And they expect you to do it a certain way. And it's hard for me to prioritize just being a human in the room with someone else when I'm having to check all these boxes in my head of what they're looking for and like proving to my supervisor that I'm good at this, not just practicing.
Now you're making sense to me.
Okay.
About not that you don't need to show that you can do the thing, but you can do it the way that they think you should do it.
Yes.
I've actually seen this in the world of therapists. I actually work on another podcast that's kind of about that. It's called Radical Practice. And the whole idea is, my summation of it would be the system in which therapy is under, it's not complete. It's not for everyone. It's not for every therapist, and it's not for every client.
Yeah.
They're kind of sharing ways to practice in a more, well, I guess it's in the time, or radical way.
Totally.
And I don't completely follow everything that they're talking about, but I do get the general sentiment. Like Freud doesn't apply to everything, and not every client is going to benefit from the by the book.
Right. Totally.
Therapizing.
Yeah.
So, but there's also the idea that you do need to, until that system changes.
Yeah. You have to do it.
You have to get through it, and then you can do things the way you want to do them, as long as you remain, a certified.
Right. I mean,
clinician.
I am realizing, talking with my peers, that we are at a point where we just need to get through it. Because to drop out at this point would be stupid.
I mean, there would be.
We're in debt until we die, basically. Anyway, but like,
there would be reasons to consider that, but I don't think you have the reason to not do it.
I have every intention of finishing it. I'm just shocked at the level of frustration I'm experiencing based on who I am, what I'm bringing, and how that interacts with the system that's in place.
Yeah. It's kind of like applying for a job. Like, that you're more than qualified for this position, that you could do the job very well.
Yeah.
But unless what you have on paper signals to somebody that
Yeah.
you're even possibly that person,
Mhm.
yeah, you have no shot.
Yeah. I need credibility.
Yeah.
That's what I'm going through this process for. And I know a lot of people would disagree with this, but one of my classmates said, we're basically the therapists we're going to be already.
Mm.
And I kind of believe that. Like, your biggest tool is who you are as a person.
Yeah.
And we're kind of already doing what we're going to do.
Mm-hmm.
There will be changes as we learn things.
And when you have you are actually giving therapy to people right now, but they're not. It's
They're not
not your
paying
practice.
me.
It's not your practice. They're
Yeah.
not your clients.
Yeah. Really, you in the room, your presence is like most of it.
Mm-hmm.
And you're not doing the work they are.
Totally. I've only seen a therapist once for a few sessions. I would say I completely did the work.
Of course.
I know he was qualified. I know he was internalizing what was going on.
Yeah.
And he had plenty of things to say if he needed to.
Yeah.
But he didn't need to.
No. That's why it's interesting to learn about theory and stuff, but we're told theory is not going to be a large percentage at all of this process with people.
No, it needs to be in your background, but it doesn't need to be in the room all the time. Yeah.
Like, the relationship between you and that person is the biggest thing.
Mm-hmm.
So either you can connect with people or you can't. And you're going to connect with some therapists and you won't connect with others. So it's not like
True.
just you have so little control of what's going on in the room as the counselor.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Not exactly, but I can imagine. Yeah.
Yeah, because half of my classes have been about theory, and now they're telling us that's actually not that relevant. So much of it is outside of your control.
Hmm.
But and the thing that's frustrating me most is the work that I'm doing for myself to try to grow as an individual
mm-hmm.
is directly in conflict from what my professors expect from me. And I'm seeing this play out in practicum because I had a difference of opinion with my instructor. And I said, I probably should have told you this a long time ago, but for my personal well-being, school is not my top priority.
Mm-hmm.
And that was hard for them to hear. But why would it be? Taking care of myself is my first priority. That's what we're teaching people. So why can't I do that?
Uh-huh. I guess the only reasonable thing to say from outside of it is yes, but you're going to have to balance that with...
And in my opinion, I am.
Uh-huh.
So...
But what does that mean? Does that mean not going to class?
No. I always go to class.
Yeah.
Most of the time. I am saying I take care of myself. My relationships are important to me.
Uh-huh.
I need to make money to pay rent.
Uh-huh.
And then I would say school is my priority. Like, it's in my top 4, but it's not my top.
And it's not like it wouldn't be if you didn't need to pay, an absorbent amount to have a place to live.
Exactly.
Or the amount that you have to pay to even go to school. If you had a baseline, that means you can make school your priority and free up your mind that much. Yeah, it would be different. But you are.
And also, if
between
I'm not
a rock and a hard place, I guess.
Yeah, and if I'm not taking care of myself, then
how are you going to take care of
how
anyone?
am I? Yeah, like, to me, that just makes sense, and to me, that's modeling what I would like for other people to do for their own mental health.
It sounds like in a system you would prefer, it would be you have X amount of courses and X amount of practicum you need to do.
Mm-hmm.
And if there was on demand for you to do when you want to do it,
right,
then you would be excellent.
It would be nice for it to be a little bit more organic. And I get that there's a structure to move people through.
Yeah.
But again, that's because it's a business.
Yeah.
They do not exist to serve students.
Yeah.
They exist to make money. So I also told them that part of my history with teachers and professors means that I need to put boundaries between me and authority figures. And I'm actively trying not to do things just to please you because that's bad for me. Mm-hmm. And I'm trying to maintain a sense of individuality and not just become the therapist that I see you being.
Yeah.
Because that's not going to help me.
Mm-hmm.
I need to figure out what this is for me. And so that's really difficult to not be understood around and disappointing because I feel like I'm trying to do what's best for me. And it makes me emotional to talk about because I feel like that's what a good counselor is supposed to do.
Right.
But I think I haven't done anything to be disrespectful, and somehow me trying to protect myself is being seen as a dispositional issue and not meeting expectations in some places. So I'm playing the game.
What you're saying is it might be possible that somebody might think you have a little bit of an attitude.
Yeah.
And I don't appreciate it.
And I don't appreciate well, it's a little bit more complicated than that, but
yeah.
To simplify, sure. Am I making any sense?
Yeah. I am finding myself thinking, yes, I hear you. And because I know you, this makes sense. I feel myself being protective of you for how other people might hear it.
Mm.
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
I can imagine somebody hearing this and being like, well, yeah, you go to school.
Yeah.
At the time that class is, you have to work your life around it and you got to get through school and then you can have your career that most people don't have and then you can make your money.
Right.
Doy.
And I hear that. I won't contest that.
Uh-huh.
That's totally fine.
But it is an individual experience. And
it is. And my individual experience is what matters in life if I'm not taking care of myself and in relationship to others.
Yeah. I think there is kind of that is a newer way of actually existing through systems like this. And to people like maybe your professor, it's not appreciated. Like I grinned and bared it and I battened down and got through it.
Right.
And I did it the way that I was told to do and you should do.
Yeah. And that's one way to get through it.
Yeah.
But
it might not be the best.
Not really into it.
Yeah.
Not into the idea of punishing myself through this process. I have suffered long enough.
Yeah, certainly this comes
with
from where you have come from.
Discipline and I have high expectation fatigue.
Mm-hmm.
Like I am not interested in going above and beyond anymore.
Yeah.
I've done it. And it got me nowhere.
Yeah.
So why would this be any different? This is a made up system.
Yeah.
It is something we made up. And I'm so annoyed listening to people talk about it like it's the most important thing. Oh, we're just going to help people, bring us safe people. And it's like, no, you're not. I'm sorry. This is a pretty cool profession. But like when I hear like seasoned therapists talk about it, they're like, yeah, it's really stressful. And it takes at least 5 years to even develop like an ounce of maturity in this career.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, does it have to be that bad? Does it have to be that stressful?
Mm-hmm.
Is there any way that this could be less serious? And maybe I'm being too harsh. I'm just like, I don't want it to be like that.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I want to be a counselor and I want to like listen to people because I'm curious about their stories and stuff. But like, I don't have like vocational awe around this being like my life calling or something.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
So I'm annoyed when people can't relax because I don't want to have a counselor brain 24/7.
Yeah, I do understand that.
Do you want to talk to me if I'm therapizing you all the time?
No.
No, you don't, because that would be annoying.
You don't. I worked a long time in retail and it annoyed me to the core. The corporate.
Yeah.
We're a family here at the company. Mm-hmm. And like any of this really means something to you?
Yes, exactly.
What?
What?
And it should mean something to me?
Yeah.
No.
No.
No, I will use my body to put your products out there and talk to other people to help them buy stuff. And then I'll take home a paycheck and then hopefully not dream about this, which I still have dreams about it. But yeah, the rah-rah, like let's do a cheer, go team.
No.
Fuck off, man.
Yeah.
And I know it's not that important to you.
Yeah.
I know it's not.
It's your job to tell me that it's important.
Yeah. It's a cult.
Yeah. Yeah. And maybe I'm, too sensitive to that, but it's feeling a little culty to feel like I can't say, hey, I disagree with this. Or, hey, this feels like a power dynamic. Or, hey, I didn't learn that much from this assignment.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry. It feels like I can't be like, this isn't that cool.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not okay with me, to not feel like I can just be honest and say, this program kind of sucks for me right now.
Yeah. No, I think we're getting somewhere here.
Yeah.
I could see your experience, say, in the mission, but your whole religious upbringing as some sort of asset, especially eventually helping people such as yourself.
Mm-hmm.
But I imagine, as I'm hearing, that it's also challenging.
Yeah. And, I think I'd like to work with an ex-religious population or people experiencing faith crisis, but who knows? That might not be the population I end up working with.
You might not want to live in that.
I might not
forever.
Want to. And I also might find it difficult to work with those people and be like, I actually want to just be your friend. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And not your counselor.
That could be a challenge.
Yeah.
Have you gotten enough out for what you wanted to talk about?
Thanks for asking. I think that's the bulk of it. I think it's hard. It's just hard for me to feel misunderstood, because that's a story I tell myself, is that I'm fundamentally misunderstandable. And so when people don't get what I'm trying to talk about, when I say I left this thing and it affects me this way, it's frustrating.
People know about who you are, right? Especially in this small group, everyone knows you're ex-Mormon.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think unless you have some kind of like framework for what I'm even talking about, it goes right over your head. Like, it's just hard to grasp what I'm talking about. Because even when I said, like, I need to not become you, my instructor was like, well, that's how I did it. Like, I just watched my mentors and tried them on, and now I'm me. But I was like, that's not what I'm talking about.
You choose your mentors. You don't just accept an assigned mentor. That's not how mentorship is successful.
Right. But I'm also not talking about mimicking someone. I'm not talking about imitation.
Right.
And that's the sense that I got from their response, was like, well, yeah, I did that too. And I'm like, no, you don't understand the complete immersion in someone else's personality, because you don't have one.
Hey, judge not. Okay.
No. I'm saying because I didn't have one.
Oh, okay.
I would lose myself in authority figures.
I see what you mean. Yeah.
I would pick someone and like completely obsess about them to the point where I was thinking, what would they do in this situation for everything? Even what would I wear? So like...
Yeah, that's not healthy.
Yeah. That's a little bit different than just imitation is the most sincere form of flattery.
Yeah.
So that's the thing I'm talking about, where people just don't understand what I mean when I use certain words. So thanks for listening.
Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
Yeah.
Speaking of like living in the ex-religiosity of it all, I have must be a dozen or more books behind me on the subject of Mormonism and Joseph Smith, and I got real gung-ho about it during that first 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
Like I'm gonna get it all.
All of it.
And now I'm like, am I ever gonna get through all of these?
Do
I want to?
It sounds like it's not grabbing you the same way it was.
I don't feel as much of a interest in like thinking about it all the time.
Yeah.
Thankfully.
Yeah.
And doing this with you has helped us climb up that hill.
Totally.
And it's never not going to be interesting until the church is gone.
And even after.
Yeah. It's going to be a historical institution and historical people and events. And it'll affect, even if it ended tomorrow, it'll affect generations of people.
Totally.
For a long time.
Yeah. It'll ebb and flow, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
You're interested in it, and it's probably healthy that there are periods of time where you're more interested in other things.
Yeah.
And then you might swing back to it.
I think that's evident in that, we've completed 4 seasons of this, and we
Mhm.
started this season 5 about a year and a half ago.
Mm-hmm.
And those other ones we did, in a couple months.
Yeah.
This is not a priority to do anymore because I don't think either one of us needs to talk about it as much as often.
It's not as pressing, but when it comes up, it really comes up.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I find that I do still benefit a lot from talking about it.
Lately, just kind of left the door open, like when you want to do it,
Yeah.
when you got something to say.
Right.
I don't know how much more I have to say about it.
Yeah. And that's fine.
But then I read, because I have a list of topics that I could research and talk about if I wanted to, and I just haven't.
Yeah.
Then I think, well, I could just open up the church magazine, find an article, probably have a lot of stuff to say about that.
It's true.
And just last night, I opened up the February 2024 edition of the church magazine, Liahona, and there are 2 articles on tithing.
I mean, just that alone says so much.
Yeah. And they are, there's something.
There's something. Do you want to read the whole thing, or do you want to read like a few paragraphs?
This first one is not very long.
Okay.
But there are a couple of real standout sentences where like, are you kidding me?
Are you?
You want to do that?
Yeah.
Okay. So I was actually going to have you read this one.
Oh, okay. I can read.
I think you can. I believe you. I believe in you.
I believe you.
So this is called Tithing, Our Expression of Faith by Rossano Datiles.
Okay.
And where that's from will become evident, I think. Actually, you have to deduce it. It's not explicit, but
there's a picture of the
family
enjoying a bowling activity.
Mm-hmm.
Datiles? Is that
yeah,
what
I think there's 5 kids.
When the children were young, Brother Datiles was struggling to pay tithing because of his failing business. He and his wife set a goal to be full tithe payers. Years ago, when my children were young, I went to see my priesthood leader to have my temple recommend renewed. But when he asked if I was a full tithe payer, I had to tell him I wasn't. I wanted to be, but I was struggling to pay tithing due to a wrong decision I had made in a failed business. After listening to my struggles and asking about my financial needs, he kindly and compassionately reminded me about the importance of putting my faith in the Lord and being a full tithe payer. We then reviewed together what is written in Malachi 3:10. Prove me now herewith, saith the Lord of hosts, if I will not open you the windows of heaven and pour you out a blessing that there shall not be room enough to receive it. I understand that it's painful for you not to have your temple recommend renewed at this time, he said. But the joy you will feel and the blessings you will receive will be much greater after you honorably pay your tithing. We can reconvene for a temple recommend renewal in 3 to 6 months. Okay. Honorably?
Yeah.
I hate when they're like, it's not enough to just keep the commandment. You have to do it happily. Or it's like you didn't do it at all.
Mm-hmm.
Ugh.
Do your duty with a heart full of song.
That's right. Oh, fuck. No! After that interview, my wife and I talked and prayed about it. We were sure Heavenly Father knew how much we desired to be back in the temple to participate in sacred ordinances. Going to the temple is so important to us. In the house of the Lord, not only can we provide help to our departed loved ones, but we also experience great joy, peace, and calm. These are all priceless blessings that we can get from making and keeping temple covenants and performing sacred ordinances there. We determined that tithing is less about money and more about placing our faith in Heavenly Father and Jesus Christ. And we set a goal to be full tithe payers and to return to the temple.
Priceless. How is it not about money?
How?
It's literally about a specific percentage of money that you have to pay or you can't do the thing that you want to do. You can't provide free labor and have bodies in the temple to be doing stuff unless you pay money, even if you don't have it.
These are price-dependent blessings.
It's so infuriating. But they have to apply it to everyone. They can't be like, well, we'll make an exception this time for you.
Right.
whether you have $100,000 or $100, we need you to give us 10% of it to even play the game.
Yeah.
That we want you to play.
Mm-hmm.
And we want you to want to play it.
You got to want to play it.
That's right. Enough to pay for it.
Having these goals in mind, we felt impressed to sell our car.
This is where I was like, wait, what?
It was our only means of comfortably transporting our family, but we had faith that the Lord would bless us if we made this sacrifice.
You have 5 kids.
We knew that it would be hard for us to commute in a jeepney.
Okay, so I had to look it up. In the Philippines, there's these Jeeps.
Oh.
Like from war times that are used as basically like Ubers.
Right.
And there's a whole economy of it.
Right.
But it's difficult to get around in.
Yeah.
As they say.
Holding 3 young girls while my wife took care of our bags, but we knew that it was the right thing to do to achieve our goals. We began paying our tithing in full. After 3 months, I met with my priesthood leader again for a follow-up interview. He asked me about my testimony of tithing, and I was able to tell him I was a full tithe payer. My wife and I finally got our temple recommends renewed, and we immediately went back to the temple. We'd achieved our goal of returning to the temple to make covenants and receive ordinances in behalf of our ancestors. Windows of heaven started to open. Blessings started pouring in. My feelings of happiness and inner peace were beyond description. We still commuted using jeepneys and would sometimes miss our stop because we fell asleep at times.
Because we fell asleep?
Because we were exhausted. Oh my God. But the joy of being full tithe payers and the blessings of temple worship are greater than any physical hardships. The blessings continued. After 6 months, I was promoted at work where I not only received a higher salary, but also qualified for car benefits. After 6 months, the Lord gave us a new ride. Our family once again had a vehicle, now more comfortable than the one we sold. The Lord kept his promises to me, and by keeping his commandments, I keep my promises to him too. The author lives in Laguna, Philippines. This paragraph about we had achieved our goals, the windows of heaven started to open, I was so happy. That is such a vague description. Like, what happened? You getting a promotion at work was completely unrelated.
And it implies that not only was his business failing, he no longer has the business. He had to work for somebody else.
Get a different job. Yeah.
So how is that an achievement?
Yeah. Like, the Lord didn't save their business because they sacrificed their car.
Sold their car.
To be able to be full tithe payers so that they could go to the temple and fall asleep during the endowment. God.
So there's another article, and this is more to the point of this, but you have to find what the blessing is.
Yeah.
You have to search.
It's not going to be clear.
It's not clear, and sometimes it's just totally absent to point to, but just that you did it. Are you ready for this? Where are my promised blessings from paying tithing?
Where are they?
Heavenly Father.
I've searched everywhere. Heavenly
Father often bestows significant but subtle blessings instead of immediate miracles when we are paying our tithing. Okay, I remind you, this is in the same issue, February 2024 of Liahona.
Okay.
Malachi prophesied that if we give our tithes to God, then
in 3:10?
He will open the windows of heaven and pour out a blessing that there shall not be room enough to receive it. Malachi 3:10. With that promise, we often hear stories of miraculous and immediate blessings that came to those who honored the commandment to pay their tithing. But what happens if we don't receive similar blessings in our times of desperate temporal need? Not seeing similar blessings come to pass in our own lives can be disheartening.
I died before I found my blessing.
We may even ask, am I not blessed? Elder Neil L. Anderson of the Quorum of the 12 Apostles reminds us that the windows of heaven open in many ways. Some are temporal, but many are spiritual. Some are subtle and easy to overlook. Trust in the Lord's timing. The blessings will always come.
Sometimes they just don't exist, but if you just look hard enough, you might find a shred of inner peace.
Teachings from Elder David A. Bednar of the Quorum of the 12 Apostles can also help us see that the blessings we receive can come in a multitude of ways that we may not be considering. He said, some of the diverse blessings we obtain as we are obedient to this commandment, the law of tithing, are significant but subtle. Such blessings can be discerned only if we are both spiritually attentive and observant. Looking for...
You gotta pay attention or you could miss it.
You better look close.
Mm-hmm. Stay sharp.
Looking for and recognizing the significant but subtle blessings of paying a full tithe can help us understand that God is aware of us and is blessing us.
Mm-hmm.
We promise it's there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you don't see it, sounds like a you problem.
Yeah.
Okay, again, significant but subtle blessings. God's will is not always the same as ours. Because of that, God's blessings may not always come to us in the way we desire or expect. For instance, Elder Bednar provided some examples of unexpected blessings that can come from paying tithing. This is really filler. Sometimes we may ask God for success, and he gives us physical and mental stamina. We might plead for prosperity, and we receive enlarged perspective and increased patience.
What?
Or we petition for growth and are blessed with the gift of grace. Sounds like Sister Lisa can take this advice.
Yeah, I guess so. That sounds so gaslighting.
Yeah.
Ask for what you want and he'll give it to you, except for when he doesn't. And he gives you something he thinks is better.
Or nothing at all.
Or
and
nothing
you just
at all.
need to be okay with that.
Yeah, just keep asking.
He may bestow upon us conviction and confidence as we strive to achieve worthy goals. And when we plead for relief from physical, mental, and spiritual difficulties, he may increase our resolve and resilience. So the problems won't go away. You'll just feel a little bit better about dealing with them. Bednar also suggests that sometimes the blessings that come to us through heavenly windows may be greater capacity to act and change our own circumstances rather than expecting our circumstances to be changed by someone or something else. This goes on, but there was one paragraph that I pulled out. In our mortal journey, even those who are obedient to the law of tithing may experience the financial struggles of unemployment, unexpected emergencies, mismanagement of finances, or stagnant wages. Knowing that God is in control can help us grow in faith and patience as we search for the significant and subtle blessings of tithing. It might be that some of these difficulties are actually blessings that will help us grow through the trial itself. When doubt and despair rise from financial struggles, if we tearfully question if we are blessed, we do not give up hope.
We do not give up hope.
We do not. Through our tears, if we tearfully question if we are blessed, we do not give up hope.
That doesn't make any sense at all.
Not really. Instead, we can pray to see the subtle and significant blessings. They've said this like 6 times.
So subtle, but it's still significant.
That the Lord has bestowed upon us, and have faith in Heavenly Father's plan for us.
Just ask if you could just have any shred of comfort. And
Can
then
you just give me a break?
If you look for anything good in your life, that will be the answer. It's depressing.
And you hear stories of that all the time.
Yeah, I don't like it.
I don't like it.
I feel like when I hear articles in that language and stuff, my brain just like, it wants to check out so hard. It's just like, oh my God, I cannot listen to this one more
drivel.
Yeah.
There's this whole story, this ridiculous story in here of, who's this guy? Hugh B. Brown.
That sounds familiar.
The story about a currant bush that he trimmed.
Oh, right.
And it talks to him and he has a whole conversation.
Yeah.
You know this?
Uh-huh. That's why it sounds so familiar. There's a short Mormon message video.
I am the gardener here, and I know what I want you to be. And I'll cut you down so you can grow bigger and better or whatever.
Yep.
Why did you hurt me?
It was in somebody's general conference talk. So they made a little video about it, an animated video. Yeah, isn't that sad that like that's the metaphor for God's love? It's like, I'm going to cut you down. You should be grateful.
You will endure pain, but you will be big and beautiful when I want you to be.
Exactly. I told you a while ago that I had a dream about being on my mission, but I was on Uranus. Didn't I? It was a while ago.
I'm sure you did. Uranus?
I think it was symbolic of just like how far away I felt.
Oh.
That I was on another planet.
Wow.
But it was so manipulative because there was so much mind control going on and abuse, but we weren't allowed, we were supervised so much the missionaries, I wasn't able to talk about it directly to other people. So I was just like isolated and alone. And it was terrifying. It was like some parts of The Handmaid's Tale mixed with my mission. And that's when I have experiences like that, that's when I want to talk about it on the podcast, because it still comes through in so many weird ways in my life. And when I dream about it particularly, I realize just how much it's still there. Like recurring dreams of being like trapped in the church or wandering aimlessly, can't get out. Yeah. I'm in Sunday school, but I don't understand why I'm there.
Yeah.
And
why
I'm
did
like,
I come here?
Wait, why? I don't have to be here. And then the whole gym of the cultural hall opened up into like a big pool, like an aquarium. And all of these orcas were at the bottom. And then one started swimming up towards me, and its jaws opened up so wide, like it was about to eat me. I was sitting on a chair right by the edge of it, and its giant mouth opened up to swallow me, and I woke up in a panic.
Wow.
Interpret that.
Keiko, no.
So I think there's still stuff there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
The other thing that I had written down is not only books, but like I just take in less. I used to read the Ex-Mormon subreddit all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Like every day. Mm-hmm. And listen to most episodes of Mormon Stories and a few other shows. And now there's too many.
Yeah. I don't have the time to consume as much content as I did before.
If I were to try to keep up, I'd have no life outside of...
No, which would be unhelpful to having a life outside of this.
You know, I rarely think about how this goes, like where this goes out there.
Yeah.
We don't have the kind of audience of Mormon Stories or even Zelf on the Shelf or any of that stuff.
Right.
I know some people listen and some people get something out of it, but I question, like, what would you get from this that you would not get from any of the other more visible?
Just like anything else, not all content is for everyone.
I think it's tough when you make it your job.
Yeah.
And you have to do it so much.
Totally. I'm totally happy to hop on and do this once in a while. And
I couldn't imagine making it a job.
Whoever
let us be clear. We have never, and I can't imagine we ever would make a dime from this. It's only cost us money to do this. So you're welcome. I guess.
I mean, like, we signed up for it, but
yeah,
like, I don't really think about like what is the purpose. I guess we just do it when we want to.
Yeah.
But
I hope that you know that if you're ever over it, that you don't want to do it or don't have the capacity to do it, then I started this primarily for you, and I think it's been helpful.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that's right. That's just why we take such long breaks.
Yeah.
You know, it's there when we want to sit down and record a conversation. It's pretty casual. But yeah, I tune into content that I think will help me. You know, I listened to the Troubled Teen Center episode from Mormon Stories, and I actually learned a lot. Like, I didn't understand that was an industry that was really thriving.
Yeah. And
how it really affects people. And then that led me down the rabbit hole of watching Paris Hilton's documentary on her experience, which was fascinating. So I'm always learning new things, and I'm always interested in hearing people's stories and how, it's always so comforting to realize we share the same thing. We share slightly different versions, but everything that you're saying makes so much sense to me, and it's really validating to hear people talk about what they went through.
Yeah. And there seems to be an increasing focus, maybe rightly so, on like what's happening now in Mormonism, in the church, which there is a lot.
Yeah.
And I can't keep up with it.
Yeah.
I am fascinated probably more so by historical stuff. Mormonism Live, the other day, they did a episode on this Solomon Spaulding theory. Do you remember that?
Barely.
The theory that this guy Solomon Spaulding wrote a story called Manuscript Found, it's referred to as manuscript found. People from that time, when they were hearing the Book of Mormon read out loud, said, I remember this, the story of these people making this journey, having these wars, even these names. And that apparently has never been found, but there was another manuscript from the same person that bared some resemblance to that. But the theory is basically that Sidney Rigdon had this manuscript. It was left at the printers in Pennsylvania, and he couldn't pay to publish it. So it eventually, the theory is Rigdon had it, used it as a blueprint with Smith, and that's the bones, the base layer of the Book of Mormon.
Yeah.
There's some compelling evidence that this is possible. I mean, we can place
Doesn't sound impossible.
Rigdon in the same place at the same time. It's possible that he knew Smith before the famous conversion of his congregation in Ohio. It's not super solid, but it's interesting.
Yeah, seems plausible. I think I'm less compelled by history now, more compelled by how it affects me and how it connects me to people who went through the same thing, like processing how it shows up.
That makes sense because it was more a huge part of your day-to-day life for a lot longer and more intensely than it was for me.
Yeah. Just the other day in class, we were talking about microaggressions and how we were in small groups and we were supposed to share, can you think of a time when you like microaggressed someone? And I was like, yeah, I can. By sharing it with people that like all of Native American lineage came from Jerusalem.
Yeah.
Like, and one of my classmates was like, what? I did not know that. Yeah.
I think that's more than a micro.
Oh, sure.
That's an egregious.
Yes. No, a total
falsehood.
Absolutely. I was mostly not joking, but like, yeah, I can think of a lot of ways I offended people just with my basic beliefs about humanity.
In the world.
Yeah, and history. But yeah, I understand that's not a microaggression.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah, actually, I think it comes into play a lot when I'm trying to explain my life to people who don't understand Mormonism at all. I'm like, yeah, I get this.
Check this out.
Check this out. I see being ex-Mormon as an asset. And if they see that as a problem, then I'm not the person for them.
Amen, sister.
Well, that was great. Good catch.
I think that's it for this episode. And hey, I don't know how long it's going to be till we do it again, but
that's right.
Whenever you're ready.
You never know. Okay.
All right. I'm Brother Dan.
I'm Sister Lisa.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.